Got wood?
Woodworking requires the use of sharp cutters and a good deal of force. If one does not have the proper skill set, it can be dangerous and can result in permanent injury or death. Don't try to perform an operation unless you are certain they are safe for you. If something doesn't feel right, don't do it. Seek instruction and work with great caution with all new or unfamiliar woodworking techniques.
This video supports the Wonderbox project, which is part of the foundation coursework. The project is intended to introduce you to some fundamental sculptural concerns, as well as act as an introduction to the woodshop. When you first came in, you were handed this study guide. Simply answer the questions as you go through the coursework. Then, hand it back to your instructor. You must complete the safety orientation in order to use the facilities of the woodshop. This is a prototype of the Wonderbox. It is really quite basic in structure and can be thought of as a four-sided box or perhaps a frame. It is made of poplar. It has been cut to 3.5 inches wide by the woodshop staff, and each student will receive 5 feet in length. You need a plan. You will work with your instructor to develop your concept. Then you will present the staff with your plan on paper. This will enable us to facilitate you to work safely and efficiently. We do not accept air drawings. The plan, drawing, can be a quick gestural drawing with the dimensions written on the page. My box for this demonstration will have butt joints and measure 12 by 14 inches. I must decide where I want the joints to be, either on the 14-inch or the 12-inch side. I have chosen the 12-inch side. This means that the 12-inch pieces must be cut shorter in order to compensate for the thickness of the boards. I must compensate for the material's measured thickness times 2, which in this case happens to be about 7/8 of an inch. 7/8 of an inch times 2 equals 1 3/4 inches. This means I cut the 12-inch boards at 10 1/4 inches to compensate. This will make the box 12 by 14 inches outside dimensions. Of course, a simpler solution, just take 2 of the boards, put them together for the thickness, and then mark off the board you're going to cut with a crow's foot. Next is the cut list. It's good to write down the name of the project, then jot down how many of each piece and their dimensions. You will then take this list to the saw and mark it off as you cut your pieces. The material of choice for this project is a wood, poplar. It is a very green choice in that it's local, North American wood. It's a great carbon scrubber and creates good habitat for wildlife. Poplar, as a material, is a medium-density hardwood that is very dimensionally stable and often free of large defects such as knots. It is also quite available and affordable, often used for architectural molding and furniture. We use it exclusively for the Wonderbox coursework, but the wood is also quite suited for frames and stretcher building. When taking wood from the wood rack, you must ask for help. The woodshop staff will show you where the materials are. They will also help you pick your stick of wood if you wish. It is very important to remember to re-clip the front of the wood rack. Place your material flat on a work table for layout. Never leave your boards leaning on end outside of the wood rack. They can easily fall over and damage something or someone. After you picked your board, you need to do a rough layout of your cuts. First, look at the length of the board for possible distortion called warp. Next, be sure to look at both sides of the board for possible defects such as knots. Then, do a rough cut of the material to 5 feet to make the material more manageable, and this creates a square or datum end to start your measurements from. Now it's time to lay out the board accurately for the cuts. The method of marking was taught to me by my Irish grandfather, and the method is known as the crow's foot. First, place your tape measure or ruler at 0, or the datum end of your board. Go to the measure and make a mark. Go again to the measure and make another mark. Then place your mark maker at the intersection point. Bring your square to your mark maker and draw your reference line. Now it's time to go to the miter saw and make your cuts. You will use the miter saw to cut butt joints, which is when you cut boards at a 90-degree angle and then join them with the end grain to face grain. First, we need to check the calibration of the saw. This will ensure that your cuts are at the desired angles. First, you got to unplug the saw, always. I always check the angles by a quick observation of the gauge on the bed. But to confirm it, I have to use an engineering square. You check to see if the blade is square to the fence. You check to see if the blade is square to the table. After you've calibrated your saw with the engineering square, it's a good idea to make a cut and check your work. What is critical in making a square box is being sure that the parallel sides are exactly the same length. Position the board in relation to the blade by bringing the blade down to the reference line on the board and adjust the position, making sure that the blade is on the waist side of the cut line. Then clamp and cut. Now you could take this next piece of wood, remeasure for the next cut, repeat the cutting procedure. However, if you are not exacting enough in your measurement and cutting skills, you will be a wee bit off in length on your second piece. The trick is to make the first cut and set up a stop block system, which gives you a positive stop or index to measure against, which could be as simple as a block of wood and a clamp on the fence. This is the stop block system we use here at the shop. Just gently push it against the workpiece side of the board and tighten the knob to the fence. Do not over-tighten. Do not slam your board up against the stop block, throwing it out of adjustment on the second cut. So, in review, measure out your first cut. Clamp the board. Slide the stop block in contact with your workpiece. Tighten it. Make the cut. Then butt the next board up to the block, clamp, and cut the second piece. They will be exactly the same size. Then just simply repeat this process for the next perpendicular side of your box. You will then join the pieces. In the fabrication room you'll find hand tools and other materials needed for the job. They are on this board labeled Foundations. To the left, you'll find the miter clamps or vise with the other clamps. The tools are as follow: miter clamp or vise, hammers, left or right-handed, nails, nail punch, drill and drill bits, pliers, and glue. You'll also do a bit of sanding. You'll find the sandpaper and palm sander by the downdraft table. Develop a plan on how you can assemble this piece. You need to sort of choreograph your movements. Start by getting organized and knolling out your parts on the table. When joining the wood with fasteners, you need to prepare the joint by pre-drilling. For finished nails, we drill a hole that is the same diameter as the nail to be used, but about 1/4 of an inch short. This gives the nail space for purchase in the wood, which holds the joint together. The drill setup is simple. The drill has a chuck that expands and contracts to hold the drill bits. Counterclockwise opens the chuck, and clockwise rotation tightens the chuck. Dry fit 2 of your side parts in the miter vise. Dry fit references the fitting of parts without adhesive. Once you put on the adhesive, you only have 5 minutes to get your parts assembled. Remove one of the pieces from the miter vise. Put glue on the surfaces. Put the piece back together in the vise and align it properly. Drill the pilot holes. Put a nail in the pilot hole. Then hammer the nail until it's flush or a wee bit proud of the surface. We then use a punch to drive the nail below the surface of the wood. In using the nail punch, you're left with a hole. This can be filled. Simply put a drop of glue in the hole. Then, using a palm sander, sand the area. This creates a filler of glue and sawdust. Let the piece sit assembled for 24 hours so that the glue can completely set, or as we say, cure. Alright, now the woodshop staff's going to do the good old dog and pony show and do a demonstration on how to build this box in the shop. After the woodshop staff does the demonstration, anyone who has not completed the safety orientation must leave immediately. In closing, I'd just like to say, Ask for help, and good luck to you.